Good afternoon, everybody. This is Coach's Corner, but today it's just going to be myself hosting how to find break even in your home care business and maximize profits. Now, before I get started, as I always say, to my franchise owners out there, I am not a certified public accountant. I am just a person who loves to look at my books, my P&Ls, my balance sheets. I know QuickBooks upside, left, right, down, and center. And I've been doing it for 13 years in home care. I teach owners on it. I can look at an owner's P&L, which we're actually going to do today is look at some, it's not an actual owner's P&L. It's just a mock-up of a P&L. And we're going to look at underperforming and what's causing it, where the break even is, and then how are we going to overperform? What should we be doing to do the best, have the best P&L in business in home care? And then at the very end, we're going to end with owner's class. Owner's class is expenses that are discretionary, things that we want to take out to maximize our profitability. Because they're thing. Everyone wants to own a bit. Everyone who owns a business looks for tax write-offs. That's what we're supposed to do: is look for tax write-offs, keep more money in your pocket, and maximize your bottom line. So, let's start. We're going to start very simple. So today's agenda: we're going to go through a standard chart of accounts. Again, these are our standard chart of accounts. You may want to track it. I have owners who want to track everything. I don't think it's necessary to track everything, but I do like to have a standard chart of accounts so that I know what I'm looking at and looking for. Then we're going to look at an underperforming P&L and why it's underperforming. And then we're going to look at using the same top line numbers, using that, cutting things in the bottom that are controllable. That's the biggest thing to remember in home care. You have to control your controllables, right? And there's not a lot of controllables except for one major category, and that's caregiver wages. And we're going to get to that. And then ultimately end with reviewing the owner's class and removing those out of the P&L to show you what your really bottom line really is after discretionary expenses are. So let's go. We'll present. All right, let's see here. Share screen, entire screen, boom. And here we are, my friends. This is a standard chart of accounts for a place at home care, and other home care agencies I've seen theirs. It's very similar. If you're a home care owner and you have a chart of accounts and it looks nothing like this, you may want to look at it or talk to a CPA and see if they can help you organize it. But this is our standard chart of accounts that we want to measure. So let's go. Very quickly, we're going to go through this. So in the blue shade, here's your income, money coming in, money going out. You may say, what's customer satisfaction? Customer satisfaction, I like to know how much credits I'm giving back. What customer satisfaction can be is, let's say a caregiver forgets to wash dishes and you're like, hey, ma'am, I am so sorry. That is not who we are as an agency. I would love to give you a free hour of service, right? A free hour of service or something like that. That is, people will naturally just deduct that and take it out of caregiver income. I, on the other hand, especially when I want to scale to manage the business from afar, like outside letting my managers manage it, I want to know how much my managers and my schedulers and everybody's writing off in terms of customer satisfaction. It's very, very important, I think, to know that. After you have caregiver income and satisfaction, you get your total income. Then you have what's called your cost of goods. Cost of goods, best way I can put it is what it is like a can of beans at a grocery store. It costs a grocery store $1 to buy them. They sell it for $2. Their cost of goods is 50% or $1. So there you go. Our cost of goods in home care is anything associated with caregiver wages, including 401k employer contributions. If you have a 401k, some people will put a 401k line item in the expenses. I would put it in your cost of goods because it's a contribution to that caregiver and their wages. All right. You also have the caregiver 401k fees that are associated with it, caregiver taxes, payroll taxes, now, and caregiver wages. One thing that I notice a lot of people doing is they will go in and put caregiver taxes, because when you do payroll, you get two line items on a journal. You get the gross wages, or you get the net take home. I think it's called net pay. Net pay is the total amount on the check of the caregiver. Well, the caregiver's FICA taxes are wages. They are not caregiver taxes. So where I see people mess up is they put those FICA taxes into the caregiver taxes, and that's not it. The caregiver taxes is the employer responsibility taxes. All right, that's it. Usually about 4 to 5 to 6%, depending on where you live. And then you get your total cost of goods, and then you get your gross margin. We're going to talk about what a good gross margin, gross profit is. All right. Gross profit is income minus your cost of goods is what's left. And then you have what's called your net income, or your bottom line, people will call it. That's taking your gross profit. After you remove your cost of goods, you have your gross profit. Now you're going to subtract your expenses. So these are common home care expenses: advertising and promotion, lead generation, referral fees. People ask, what are referral fees? Sometimes home care agencies will partner with placement agencies, and if they get a referral, they can offer maybe 50 cents an hour for X amount of time, a lifetime of the client, for 6 months of the client, what have you. It's done all different ways, but that would be a referral fee. You have your total advertising. So that's just the three of these added up into here, which I'll go through when we look at the P&L. You have our automobile expenses and fuel. One thing you do not do is put an auto loan right here. That goes on your balance sheet. We're not talking about balance sheets today, but an auto loan is a liability that goes onto your balance sheet. All right. Automobile expenses is fuel, maintenance, wear and tear, tire change, whatever. That can be done if the business is paying for that automobile. Bank service charges are anything like a bank will charge you for, processing fees, monthly subscription fees if your bank does that, anything, they're minuscule. Brand fund is typically only in franchising. That is, a lot of brands will charge a percentage. Ours is 1% of top line income goes into a fund, in which we utilize that fund to advertise the brand as a whole to try to drive the business. Going down into businesses, licenses, and permits. And oh yeah, pause. If you guys have any questions, feel free to comment. I can see comments that are floating in here, so please feel free to comment and I'll take a look at those. Business license and permits. This might be your state license for home care, all right? Or doing business in a state requires maybe a permit. So that would be on there. Usually it's a one-time fee a year, very minuscule. You have your computer and internet expenses. That is anything associated with purchasing computer, maybe like a keyboard or whatnot. Buying the computer itself is an asset. I would put that under fixed asset, under equipment. Again, that would go on your balance sheet as an asset. Continuing education. We use Care Academy, Navan, and Care Insights through Home Care Pulse. Anything that we invest in for caregiver training goes under continuing education. Anything that you invest in yourself to maybe get Alzheimer's training. I got my CNA when I first started. That would go under continuing education. Credit card service charges. What that would be is processing fees. Donations. We're in a home care business. We like to make donations for causes: Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, any other major diseases that affect our clientele that have foundations. It's a good way to put money in. Dues and subscriptions. That could be anything from software subscriptions. I use Fireflies, for example, which is an AI tool as a note taker. That's a good one. That's a subscription. You got your gross wages. Now, this is going to be one that we go through on your administrative staff. And one that's not on here, I'm going to add it right while we're talking, is owner wages. And we'll go through owner wages when we go on to the next one. Make a little on-the-fly change here. HR expenses. This could be background checks, drug screening, recruiting website. I put my scheduling software under here because it costs me. I have to get scheduling to schedule my caregivers, which we have a partnership with WellSky, and WellSky is our scheduling software. Getting a total amount HR. Insurance, general professional liability, workers' compensation insurance. I know there's other insurances, but these are the major ones. Interest. If you have a bank loan to start your business, which a lot of people do, your interest goes here. Another mistake I commonly see is that people will take their principal, right? You buy a $100,000 loan and you have a principal payment of, let's say, $2,000, but the total payment was $2,500. $2,000 of it is principal, $500 of it is interest. Where I've caught people is taking that $2,500 and just allocating it to the debt. That's wrong. You want to make sure you take that $500 and put it as an interest expense, because that is a business expense. Meals and entertainment. You got to, lunches, lunch and learns, whatever not. Office cleaning fees. If you pay a cleaning fee per month. Office supplies, pretty self-explanatory. Other miscellaneous service costs. I don't really use this account. This is like, if I don't know where to put it, I'm going to throw it here. As a franchisor, when we do audits, we would be like, we don't want anything there. Something goes somewhere. If anything, throw it under office supplies. Payroll, I should premise I'm not a CPA. I think I did already say that. So again, this is my experience. Payroll fees, what it costs you to run your payroll through your company, payroll taxes. This is just a subcategory or a category for the subcategory of administrative. Also owners taxes you can put under here. I usually just put everything owners related under owners wages, even their taxes that you pay if they are an S Corp and you're paying through FICA. Or you may be doing draws. Draws do not go out of owner's wages. Draws come out of your balance sheet, which is a owner distribution. Again, not going through balance sheets today, just P&L. Total payroll taxes, just tallying these up. Professional fees, this could be attorneys. This could be consultants. This could be accountants. This could be human resources, IT, whatever. Whatever you're outsourcing to help you manage your business could be professional fees. Then you have QuickBooks payment fees. If you're using QuickBooks and you're doing processing, sometimes they accumulate some fees. You have your rent expense is a big one. Repairs and maintenance is usually pretty low. Usually, depending on your lease, they'll fix and repair things that break, but maybe a little touch up here and there. Royalty expense, if you're a franchise, you do have royalties. You pay for that support. You pay for the systems. You pay for things like this, like education. I'm just taking this to more of a national scale because I value this and I want to help as many people as I can. But our owners know that this is how we operate. So royalty expense, shipping, freight, and delivery should be very minuscule. Supplies, reimbursement, gloves. One thing, you might buy a lot of gloves and PPE and everything for your caregivers. You should if they're going into a home. But I would try to seek reimbursement from clients on that. Some people just eat it as a cost of doing business. I wouldn't. I would charge for it because they need that stuff in their home. Technology fee is another franchise thing. Our technology fee is like our email system. We have a training platform, all that. Telephone expense, your phone. Travel expense, trainings, traveling for conferences. Travel expense, uniforms, and then you get your total expense, total everything summed up. And then you got your net operating income, which is everything minus, or your income minus all your expenses. Other income is like interest income. Maybe you got a loan to somebody, or you have an outstanding invoice that's accumulating interest. I would put that on here to see how much interest income I'm making. And then all in all, everything added up and subtracted from the top line gives you your net income or your bottom line. So that is your chart of account. I want to address something really fast as I move on to the underperforming P&L. I always say when you're going to sit down and look, there's a reason I'm wearing a hooded sweatshirt on this video here today, is because when you are doing your P&Ls, get comfortable. Get comfortable. It can get really boring. So you want to be comfortable. But if you get excited like I do, I'm going to get comfortable. I'm going to sit back. I'm going to pop a Celsius, drink some water, and read these things. So let's go on to the underperforming P&L. So this is an example. I'm going to scroll in here. All right. I've used some real data of a place at home here, but I've mixed it. So this is not anyone's particular P&L. I've gone in and modified this to be an underperforming P&L so that we can use this story and grow it. So right here, we have a top line total income of $395,000 caregiver income for services. It's $395,000. This location is in their first year, open January 1st. This is their first year. Pretty decent first year. And I always say first year's chaos. I get owners that come in and say, I want to do $1 million. And I've had owners do $1 million. But the majority of new owners that go into this industry, you're not going to hit $1 million. Right? It's going to take time, especially if you're not a part of a franchise system. You're doing this on your own. You got to figure things out. I was 28 years old with my partner, Jared. We had 2 people pounding the ground. And I think we did maybe like 400 our first year. That was back in 2011. Time flies. 2011. So you got to build that foundation. So this is a foundational year P&L. What they did on billable hours in our industry is king. That is what you want to measure. Our billable hours was 11,311 here with an average rate of $35 an hour. This is an actual fact. We average $35 an hour across our entire system for care. All right. So using this number, now everything below is going to be subtracted, and then what we have is left is either positive, negative, or 0, which is break even. All right. So going down here, It's our first year. We're not doing a 401k. Usually as you get seasoned and grow, you may add that 401k down in the future. Caregiver taxes right here is at 6%. It's a little high. This one here is at $226,536.98, leaving us a gross profit. So we paid our caregivers between their wages and their tax and employer responsibility taxes. $146,603.23 is left out of our pool. So out of this $395, $894, it's all 249 of it gone, right? Rightfully so. You're paying people to do that. But now you have $146,000 left for everything else, including admin staff. All right. The average pay rate on this using the same billable hours is $22.04. All right. It's a 37% margin. Now, in my next slide, when I say performing, I'm going to talk about a place at home's bare minimum standard, and I'll show you what it does to you. All right. Going down, advertising and promotion is about 3% at $12,000. They're putting $20,000 into lead gen. What lead gen is portal leads. We're buying caring.com, agingcare.com, caringhomes.com, seniorfinder, whatever, those .com, those portals that you sign up for, right? And you pay per lead. This person has put $20,000 into it. I hope they're getting a return. Typical return on that is 10 to 12%. Highest I've seen is 20%. There are agencies out there who aren't comfortable marketing, who just fully put their plan is to just pump money into this, smile and dial, and grow based off paid leads. All right. We'll talk about that a little bit further. And the referral fee is $950 in referral fees paid to placement agencies. All right. Leaving us a total of $32,950 in advertising and promotion, which is 8% of the income, or $2.91 an hour. All right. How did you figure that out? Very simple. You take your billable hours, you divide it, take $32,950, divide that by 11,311, and that gives you what it costs per hour. All right. After that, we go into automobile. So this person has spent $4,300 in fuel, or about 1% of costs. All right. Bank service charges, very minuscule. The brand fund, 1%, right on the dot. Business licenses and permits, very minuscule, less than 1%. Computer and internet expenses, less than a little over 1%. Continuing education, less than 1%. Again, 10 cents an hour, 23 cents an hour, 11 cents an hour. The reason I'm pointing out the change in what it costs per hour is because, and we'll get into this next, people get so fixated on what I can cut below. But what they need to really focus on is their gross margin. That is where the biggest money is. Are you paying overtime? I don't want to jump the gun. I'll get into that later when we go into the performing P&L. But this is the problem on this one. It's underperforming because of they're paying a lot. Overtime, they're paying a lot. All right. But what happens is everyone looks for questions elsewhere. They don't look right at the caregiver wages. They look everywhere else. Advertising usually the first to get cut. So I digress. Let's continue here. Computer, internet expenses, credit card services, less than 1%. Donations, about 1%. Dues and subscriptions, about 1%. Administrative staff, about 4%. I think that's a good, healthy. It's going to grow because you're going to add people. But this is one person. One thing that a place at home did is we struck a partnership with Solvo Global, which is an outsourced virtual assistant company out of Colombia. They have people in Argentina, Colombia, Mexico City. Same time zone, which is nice. I have 2, Virtual, Facundo, and Dulce. And then we have 4. We have Rosalie that helps us in franchise development. We have Marianne, who helps us in our marketing department. And then we have Facundo and Dulce, who help our bookkeepers. They help us do bookkeeping like this. All right. Going on down to HR expenses. We have background checks, drug screening, recruiting websites, scheduling software, less than 1%. All right. Now, insurance, general professional liability, workers' compensation. If you're in California, this might be a little bit higher. Or other states that might be a little bit higher, but about 2%. Interest, this is a big one, about 4%. This location has a loan and has been paying interest, and business loans interest rates right now I mean, I got a business loan interest rate right now of about 9%. It's terrible, horrible. Hopefully that adjusts in the future. We'll see. Meals and entertainment, less than 1%. Office supplies, payroll fees, taxes and admin taxes, payroll taxes 1%, professional fees 4,000. Total professional fees right here about 5,308, 1%. QuickBooks payment fees, just fees coming out of QuickBooks. Mind you, you might be sitting here saying, is there something better than QuickBooks? There are other programs out there. I've never found one better. Rent expense, about 2%. Pretty decent rent, not bad. Those that are like independent agencies, at a place at home, we don't allow you to do home-based businesses. I would recommend not doing if you're looking to start one, or maybe you are in your basement right now, like me and Jared started way back when. It's very uncomfortable for two 28-year-old males to bring in a predominantly female applicant pool to do interviews in your basement. Not a smart choice. That lasted maybe 2 months. And then we started meeting at coffee shops. And then that kind of illegitimized us. So then we got an office space. So it's highly recommended and required by a place at home franchise to get an office space. All right. Repairs and maintenance, royalties. Our royalties between 5.5%. This one's at 5. We got supplies reimbursement. Our tech fees, less than 1%. Telephone expense, travel expense, uniforms, 3,000, 39%. All in all, the net income is a negative 9,129. Which the bottom line, then you have some interest income, so some money got put back in, but a negative 2% profit margin. Now, this is very close to break even, very close. I'll tell you the break even is probably $405,000 is my guess. Ups that a little bit. Take that down. I didn't change the caregiver rate, but again, you're paying too much on this one. And right on, $476 positive. So that is your underperforming. Things that stand out is your caregiver wages, your taxes. Biggest standout, right? Things that I would catch as a franchisor when we look at these things religiously with owners to make sure our job is to make sure you're set up for success and kind of be the police of your P&L to make sure, hey, listen, don't cut rate. Number one thing that I would say that's happening right here is the rate is getting cut. The rate's getting cut. It may not be that they pay too much. They may be cutting rate, but a $35 rate is pretty good. So maybe not in this case, are they cutting rate? But that's the first question I would ask is how much are we cutting rate? The second thing is how much overtime am I paying? And I'm looking at this. All right. So now let's go to a performing piece. Same numbers. Honestly, I didn't really change a lot, but I'm going to show you what we changed here. Just the little impacts that we did on a performing P&L using the same. All right. So here we have $35 on average rate. We did the same amount of income, $395. However, instead of a 37% profit margin, we got to a place at home's bare minimum standard, which as a system, we are above this average. 45% is the lowest I would ever do. All right. 45% can make you money or get you close. Can be good, right? Your break even's a lot lower if you go to 45%. So 45%. Our gross profit now is $178,096. Our average rate is $19.25 an hour on a $35 average bill rate. That's pretty good. What that's saying is you're making $15.75 an hour, and that $15.75 is going to be paid through everything else. I need a moment. All right. Going into the next cuts. Advertising and promotion definitely is one thing that's going to get cut. We say 2% minimum is what? So we're going to go to our brand standard minimum. Local marketing is 2%. They were at 3%. So we didn't do a lot, but we got it down to 2%, saving $5,000. I didn't take any money off lead gen. I am a big believer in putting money into lead gen. I've seen people put money into lead gen, close 10%, get their first couple clients, and they say to themselves, this isn't working out. Well, then what happens is they turn it off, but they did no ground and pound marketing. And now they don't have a client for a month or two because they turned off leads. They're not comfortable out in the field, which we as a franchisor got to get you comfortable. We're going to push you harder than you've ever been pushed. Everyone knows that. Through our coaches, Shane, Jennifer, and Tiffany, they don't not let you go marketing, right? And if you're fighting back, we will fight back in a positive, professional manner. But we need you out there. If you're not going to do that, you're going to have to put a lot of money into lead gen. So let's just say we're going to put a lot of money into lead gen here. All we did was shave off 1%. It got down to realistic. I left the fuel on here, right? We're doing a lot of driving. Must be doing marketing. We're spending a lot of money on fuel. I didn't change anything here. I did add owner wages back in. I gave a $27,000. That's nice. You know, as an owner on the last one, you weren't getting paid. Zero. It was nothing. You're just investing everything you have right now. I did it. People say, "Why? How do you live?" You figure it out. True entrepreneurs who take that risk, that leap of faith, you might not eat very well for a few months. You know, I used to always joke, Tom Robin was great in the first 4 or 5 months. And those who think they can just jump into this business or any business for that matter and start making buku bucks, go to the stock market. It's probably easier. And you can keep your job. All right. Moving on down. Didn't change anything in the HR expense. Didn't change anything else. Anything in white, I did not touch. Did not change nothing. And then look what just that little bump got us to a negative 526 or a break even. Well, you say, Dustin, that's not much better. Well, I just paid myself $27,000. So let's put that at zero. And I have a profit on my first home care business of $26,473. All right. So what does this mean? This means that this break even, where this is making good, decent money, is $395,000. The year's almost over. This is from January to December. So let's just say it's the end of the year. This one will go up. There's a few more weeks of billing left. Let's see. We bill every week on Monday. We have 3 Mondays left. So I could add more to this, but everything else goes up with it, right? But let's just figure this out real quick. How many billable hours a week do I need then? Well, since we're 3 weeks short, let's take this and do this equals this divided by 49 weeks. Help if I put the divided sign. 230 billable hours a week is break even on this location. Not bad. Not bad. That's what, $1,000 a month, right? And if we take this, what's the income per week? Just take this, multiply it by your average rate. $8,079 a week, right? Now, our average client, now if you want to take it even further, how many clients is that, Dustin? Well, our average client in a place of home right now is 26 hours. We see all these things. I'm not going to go on how to figure out, where I get system-wide numbers on this, but these are things you need these are your KPIs. Know the value of your weeks. And our weekly average is 26 hours a client. So this would tell me that I have to break even, close to break even, make $27,000 if I'm charging my bare minimum expectation of gross margin. I'd like to be at 50, but this one's at 45, right? I'd go here and I hit divide this or hit equals this divided by our average is 26 hours a week, 26. It's 9 clients. 9 clients. There's a lot of seniors out there, ladies and gentlemen. 9 clients can get you to break even. That's why this business is so appealing, right? It's hard. It's not easy, but you can get to a break even point and make good money if you provide good care. Got to have values, got to have a mission to drive a P&L, right? If you're an investor and you look at a P&L and you say, I'm going to do all this, and you business plan, and you just get so caught up in the numbers, kind of like what I'm doing here. You're just looking at where everything is. None of this matters if you don't have a reason why you do what you do in this business. You have to have a passion. The best owners have a story behind them. All of our owners here at a place have a story on why they do it. If you're trying to get into this business, really think why you want to do this, because the P&L doesn't drive itself. You drive the P&L, right? You just got to manage it. All right. So I digress back into P&L review. So this is the performing P&L. All right. We're 30 minutes in. Hang with me. I'm probably boring a lot, but let's keep on going here. All right. Again, this is an example. It's not a financial claim or telling me you can make this in the first year. Again, you drive this. not us at the franchise company. All right, now let's go over to owner's class. First, let's look what owner's class examples are. All right, owner's class is discretionary income. What are those? Owner's salary, right? Unfortunately, when you become an owner, a franchise owner, or a small business owner, you're the last to get paid. You run all the risk, you pay all the thing, but you take the profit. And when profit's good, you're doing good. When profit's bad, not doing so good, right? But when you're taking that profit, I put anything an owner makes, you put that back into the bottom line. That is your discretionary. You might want to have reserves, right? And mind you, I did a cash flow training last week. I would always recommend you have minimum 2 weeks of payroll, caregiver payroll in your bank at all time. It comes out to about 2.5% of your top line income. So if you have $100,000 of annual income, you would want 2.5% of that, which is $2,500, in your bank readily at all times. If you're $1 million, you want to have in your bank between $25,000 to $30,000 at all time, right? The good thing about home care is ARs used to scare the heck out of us. But in today's day and age, ARs for private pay, pretty simple. We ACH as we do billing. There's no other option than ACH. And maybe if they want to write a check, sure. You're not going to get used to that. I don't do checks. All right. But I would consider it. Third-party payers, VA, used to take forever. No one liked doing it. VA pays in 7 days. Medicaid waiver usually pays in 7 to 10 days. All the automation that the government has now, the EVV systems and everything, if you do it right and you bill it right and you use people like we do, we use Paradigm, Senior Solutions, does all of our VA, a lot of our Medicaid billing, all of it, right? And we get it within 5 to 7 days usually. So third-party payers are pretty good. The longest paying ones is long-term care insurance. Those take a little bit of time. Wish that would get better, but we'll see. All right. Business use of home, write off some square footage. Health insurance premiums, retirement contributions, vehicle expenses, education and training, professional fees, licensing and membership dues, marketing and advertising. I wouldn't put all of it under owners. I'll show you what I did. Office supplies and equipment, travel expenses, networking and business development, personal property used, and insurance. All right. Depends on the insurance. GLPL, workers' comp, not owner's expense. It is definitely required. All right. So let's go over to the owner's class removed, the maximized P&L. Okay. Same thing, same numbers, everything. Didn't change anything. Didn't even change the wages. It's still at 45%. But what I did do is I took out discretionary expenses, starting with that $20,000 of lead gen. If you're a marketer and you're going to put in the sweat and you're sales, right? I did sales. Jared did sales. Natalie in Little Rock did sales. Fatima did sales. Jessica Dale did sales out in New Jersey. Fatima in Ohio. There's a lot more of our owners that do sales. And if I'm missing, I probably shouldn't have just started calling out owners. Patrick Fresh out of California, Jerome Phillips in Oregon, CW out in Colorado. They all did sales. They are people who are comfortable going and talking to people. And there's more. And I apologize if I missed you. You don't need lead gen. You're getting natural leads. Cut it. I mean, if you're getting leads and you're closing them, then do it. But if you're spending a lot of money and you don't have time, you say to yourself, that's the one thing about lead gen. If you're getting natural referrals and you're missing your calls on lead gen, you're wasting your money anyways, because once you get a lead from a lead gen, you got like 5 seconds to call them, because most of them sell to multiple agencies, and then all the agencies start calling them. I'm not going to go into best practices. That's a secret of the franchise on how to do that. But I would, if you're missing calls and missing that, stop paying it. This is discretionary. Take it out. Save yourself 20 grand. So let's start there. Automobile and fuel. You should put fuel in your car. You should use that. It's a tax write-off, but it is discretionary. Zero it out. Continuing education. You should want to invest in education and growing yourself. But again, it's discretionary. If a private equity were to buy it, they might not put in the education expenses for yourself anymore. All right. Take it out. Donations. Discretionary. You should do it, but it's discretionary. In addition, the owner wages, I told you I'd take that out. I took that out as well. All right, going down to interest in meals and entertainment. Interest. Not everyone's going to have a bank loan, right? Someone might buy this in cash. So I would take that interest out. It's interest to you, but it's not interest to somebody else. Now, if they get a bank loan, they can take this. If someone's buying your business, they can take this and they can put in their interest on their own, but I'd take mine out. Meals and entertainment, same thing, discretionary. Professional fees, consulting, finance, human resources, IT. You might spend a little bit here, but I would take it out, right? And then travel expense, minuscule expense, discretionary. You don't need to be traveling if you don't want to, right? There's probably some more in here that you could do, but those are like the main ones that I would do. And then what does that do? That gives you an $82,000 bottom line or a 21% profit margin at the end, right? If I were to sell my business, and I've sold businesses doing this exact thing. I sold our Omaha one. We sold one in Colorado. I can't remember some of the other ones we sold where they were, but we've sold a handful of these locations to new owners, right? And we took out those owner expenses. So my advice to everybody, all right, I tell this to all our franchise owners all the time, but my advice to any independent agency that would watch this as well, take out your owner expenses now, because I will tell you, if I were to buy your home care, I want to look at 3 years minimum history. Now, if you were to say, dang, I didn't do any owner's expenses, you're going to have to go back 3 years and do it in the future. If you just started doing it now, you're good. Right? And there's filtering mechanisms in QBO that take it right out. All right. And then you have a multiple. I'm not the best at multiples, but I would say on something like this, you got a 3 to 6 multiple, right? Selling it, here's the deal. Multiples, bottom lines, price of business. Business is only going to sell what someone's willing to buy it for. But you're going to have to show it's worth buying, right? I'm not buying this one. The underperforming, not buying it. The performing one, this looks good. It's realistic. You got everything. It's 26,000. You're in year one. You're making a profit in year one. Most businesses aren't profitable for their first 1 to 2 years. 2 years. But that's again the benefit of being in home care. Low overhead, right? I'm buying this one though. When you take out that, if I know that I have discretion, if I were to look at your contracts that you're in and the transferable contracts, and I know I'm not stuck paying that lead gen and I'm a heck of a marketer, I'm looking at the professional fees. I can use ChatGPT to draw up my operator's agreement. If I'm a solo owner, if you're a partnership, you probably need a legal for sure. But this one I'm looking at. All right. So you have your underperforming, your performing, your owner's class. I hope this helps. I didn't see any questions in the comment section. I would imagine this is not a very exciting thing. I try to bring excitement to it. My voice is also kind of shot. But one thing that I would leave you with, guys, is your practices now in bookkeeping is what's going to make you profitable in the future and buyable in the future. If your books are a mess, clean them up. Clean them up. Because at the end of the day, you can come and say, Dustin, I have $1 million home care business. I'm going to say, great, let me see your P&L. And you're going to say, what's that? Or you're going to say, well, I got to clean it up first. Or let me go back, right? And what I'm going to say is, this isn't worth anything right now. So when you go to sell this, make sure that you have your owner's maximize it. With that, there's one other thing I wanted to say here. I mean, if you're an independent, you can take out your royalties. But as a franchisor, I would say if you take out your royalties, you go independent and you're in year one on your own trying to figure it all out, this number goes down with it. So you choose. But I'm biased. I am biased. That's it. There was one other thing, but now I'm just kind of swimming in my own thoughts. But I guess I will end it there. So that is a P&L review, maximizing your bottom line, finding break even. Thanks.